Back to live pictures now on board the number 3 Corvette. That's who's been so star-crossed from the beginning of this race. This is the 9 car in the PC pits.
In a factor all day long. Alex Popov looks like he's jumped out. Did a great job. Duncan Indy now behind the wheel. Was only drafted in this week. There was no third name on the entry list as of Monday, but Duncan has been drafted in. He has good experience in these PC machines, and looks like a routine pit stop so far. Andrew, what do you see down there?
Yeah, the 9 car has just roared back on fresh Continental tyres. Remember, this category now running on the Continentals. They seem to be working very well. And the 8 car has pitted, and then it's just gone out again. And he is on sticker tyres, I can see, as well. And the 13 has just made a pit stop. All of a sudden, it's a busy place down here in the pit lane. And that PC battle, I think, is going to continue for a long, long time yet.
Took a little extra time there on the 9 to fix those louvers we were looking at before that were blown out. They put some bare bond over there and got those tacked back down for now.
You can see it over to the left there, what Dorsey's talking about, where that bare bond has been used to stick those back down. And as we said, when they disappear, it's actually a rule in the PC class, we believe, where they don't have to come in and fix those, but even so, it would change the balance of the race car, and that's the last thing that you want to deal with for the last 6.5 hours of this race.
Here's the number 12. Third place in the overall and P1. Nicholas Prost brought it in. Jamie Howe has the story.
It was a quick stop for Rebellion Racing. Nicolas Prost stayed behind the wheel of the car. It was fuel only. He is double sensing the tires, so Rebellion pretty happy with their tire setup as this race has gone on. That was one thing that they struggled with earlier in the week. They actually at one point abandoned everything they had done, took the setup from their sister car, the number 13, put it on theirs, and then began fine-tuning. So even in the heat of the day, they're being able to double set tires. They've certainly found something with that Toyota Lola.
Nicholas Prost is your kind of guy, Calvin, a golfer and an Ivy Leaguer. Played golf at Columbia University in New York, won some tournaments. He plays to a very high level.
We're throwing about our noses against one.
And, of course, son of a 4-time Formula One world champion.
Now, that is a guy, Alain Prost, who does have an uglier nose than me.
That's true. That's a fact.
Matt, I didn't touch a nerve with that one.
I think his nose got in the way of a pitching wedge or something.
New leader. The 500 car goes to the lead, the PC class. There he is.
Hannemeyer Hansen, who had so much success over in the P2 ranks, narrowly missed out on the championship last year. Real character, this man. Resides in the Chicago area and is going to be running a lot of races over in the World Endurance Championship this year. But he is just playing fast in one of these prototypes, really the sensation of the 2012. Oh, drama here for DB, David Brabham.
Yeah, he's real slow. Can't tell where he's at on the racetrack.
Yeah, he was slow leaving the pits, too. I wonder if there was some kind of problem. Remember, he couldn't get the engine to fire.
And in Cunningham Corner, that's where Alan McNish had his spin and crash.
He's not going to make it back like at that pace, Cal.
A lot of dramas for the HPD folks earlier in the week. Level 5 popped a couple of motors last weekend. Testing started really early here in preparation for this 12-hour event. Working with some new ECUs, they reprogrammed those and got everyone back out there, but basically stopped the ESM guys from getting on the track as early as they wanted to.
Any suggestions?
Ooh, just see the Corvette just get loose there when he had to pinch
well,
it.
you're in gear. You can try second gear. Is the engine still running? Fine. No, all gears don't work.
Yeah, Bob's issue. ECU is an acronym for Electronic Control Unit, which basically drives everything on these race cars these days.
James Hunt would say I have a box full of neutrals.
Dangerous spot.
Yeah, it is. You see the line off that corner, and it's blind.
Almost we can try.
Yeah, this, and particularly if you two cars who are duking out, I mean, there's a waving yellow there, so you shouldn't be, but even so, you know what race car drivers are like, they still like to push it.
Yeah.
If you come through here racing and suddenly you're blinded by the car alongside you, this is not a good spot.
The Corvette actually had to tighten his hands on the steering wheel through the middle of that left-hander and wag the tail as a result of getting the back end loose. So I was just saying, I like that corner. I love driving that. As we get our third full course caution of the event.
No option but to do that.
No, I would agree.
Typically you'd want to try and wait, see if you can get this car moved. without going to a double yellow, but that's just too dangerous in that situation.
Well, I thought David would pull off right there, right past where he's at. There's a road there, but I think he's done this on purpose.
Yeah,
because he'll get his way back to pits this way, won't he?
How dare you suggest such a thing?
I mean,
who'd have thunk it?
I could pull in over there, but then if I do that,
they're going to leave me here. Let's see what we can learn from the Tequila Patron pits with Andrew.
Yeah, I just spoke to Steve Bunkle. You've seen the back of his head, the engineer on this car, and they're not sure exactly what the problem is. If he can refire it, and obviously going through a sequence to try and refire it, they will take it right back behind the wall immediately. But this is obviously a major problem for this Patron car.
More importantly, there's the big picture. Everyone comes here to win the 12-hour race, but this is the first round of a championship season, and we've talked about it before. To score points, you got to do 70%, and to do that, I mean, you can't afford to have any lengthy drama here, because otherwise you just dig a big hole in the points.
Well, the bad news is if they lost total drive, if no gears work whatsoever, it's probably not the transmission, more along the lines of an input shaft, which is much, much more difficult to fix.
Well, they have the hook on David Brabham's car. They'll make their way around to the pits. We remain under caution. We're going to take a break with a look back at the second year of the American Le Mans Series here at Sebring. The new millennium brought the name Audi to Sebring with the R8 prototype. The now legendary car dominated the 12 hours with a dramatic 1-2 victory, the first of 6 straight for the R8 model. In the GTS class, the Dodge Vipers from the French Orica team dominated the race. Olivier Beretta, Carl Wendlinger, and Dominique Dupuis driving the winning entry. The victory was the 8th for Viper in the ALMS over a 2-year period.
Doc?
We are back. There's a great look down on Sebring International Raceway, packed with, I said 100,000 fans at the top of the show. I'm going to guess it's closer to 150,000 fans. They've been partying hardy, and who better to go out and sample the charms of Sebring International on 12-hour weekend than our own man about town, Justin Bell. I think you'll agree he is the man for the job when it comes to finding where the action is.
Well, hello everyone. Yes, it is that time again. Justin meets the fans. And I asked my Twitter followers what they wanted to know from the infamous fans here at Sebring. And this, oh bugger, this is what they came up with. So, should beer be considered a food group?
Yes, absolutely. Beer is the only food group.
It's because it's got carbohydrates and base minerals, important minerals that you need.
You have to take a look at, there's no words for this. That is one of the most beautiful tattoos I've ever seen, and it really does look, with that girl on top of the brain, like the inside of a racing driver's mind.
It is. We've always got it on the mind.
Perfect.
Oh, gosh, we hardly gave Justin time to get started there.
Thank God I didn't find any of my fans like he usually does.
I think our boss has pulled the plug earlier.
Yeah, I think so too.
We'll have to send him back out again with a, I don't know, company of Marines or something.
About 9 o'clock tonight. I guarantee you that's the right time to send him.
Need about a 3-minute bleep button when Justin goes out.
Here's the hairpin turn. I want you to notice if the cars went straight rather than turning into the right, they'd go down about 40 yards later to the old hairpin. There you see it.
Problem with that is there's only from here to here, there's the road there now. That didn't used to be to that road.
And notice,
now it is.
If you follow the straightaway, you can see where the old original track went before it was modified.
Came up here, up this way for quite a long, long way. The original track I drove in 73 was 5.2 miles as opposed to where we're at right now at 4.37. 5.2 put you way down right where the industrial park is now.
Easy to get lost at night.
At night back there, if you spun around, you had to actually wait for another car to come along so you'd know where to go because there was no markings on the airport runways.
That's right. They used 2 complete runways on the airport, and they did not close down airplane operations during the race, if you can imagine.
There were also out there cows if you went far enough off.
Pit lane is being closed, but we do understand that the 552 did have to hit pit lane, so there are some ways in the rule book for emergency service. What happened down there at level 5, Andrew?
that emergency with the 552 was the fact it was running on the fumes in the tank, so they just had to put some fuel in. If they hadn't done that, it would have stopped halfway around the racetrack. So that will come back in again. Everyone waiting here. Marino Franchitti, we talked to him earlier. We thought he was going to get in the car, but in fact he had to hang on for another stint, so he's finally going to get into the car. He's waiting ready here. I think Hunter Ray is going to continue. So anticipation's the word down here at the moment.
Yeah, and it's a great rule, because if you have a flat tire or if you're running out of fuel, which unfortunately the level 5 machine was, you're only allowed to put about 5 seconds worth of fuel in there to get enough to do a couple of laps and come in when the pit lane opens.
And he's going to have to come back in again and do his regular pit stop, which is the penalty, instead of getting a penalty.
Well, otherwise the race teams will take advantage of a loophole in the rules like that. Yeah. So we see the P1 cars coming in by the Audi. Troluer coming in. I don't see TK coming. So maybe splitting the strategy here a little bit. 500 cars in. Running second in LMPC. They're having a great run here today. Let's see what this pit stop looks like, Jamie.
This is a perfectly normal fuel-only pit stop. It looks like it might be, though they do have new Continental tires out and ready. The team checking them right now. David Heinemeier Hansen, though, will stay behind the wheel of the car, and he has been so impressed with Performance Tech Motorsports. This is a team that we're used to seeing run the number 18, but since they're running that Visit Florida sponsorship on it this weekend, it's the 500th anniversary of the state of Florida, so the IMSA let them switch that number, and they are going to take new Continental tires. It's been a busy weekend for this team, who's owned and managed by Brent O'Neill, and the crew chief is Frank Forshek. The engineer, Ty Shaman. They're running 6 cars in IMSA lights as well, so busy weekend, but great running today.
Well, here we see the Audi, and we thought it was just a split strategy in terms of fuel, but there's something adrift here with the front of the car. It seems like they're checking out the front of the monocoque, maybe the skid plate there, so I'm not sure if the one car's been off.
Well, every time you see these cars come in, you'll see that guy lay on his stomach right in front of there, get the turtle-eyes view of the bottom side of this car, so obviously that they are concerned.
This is where the experience of teams like Audi have so much success, because what they do is they recognize we may have a little problem. Let's do it under yellow. It's not going to cost us a lot of time. It's all about having a very healthy race car for the last couple hours of this race if it turns into a shootout.
And remember how rough this racetrack is, and remember that these curbs are high. This is what we talked about before. Remember when he high-centered this tub coming across that curb, when he was put off there with another car? That's not the car that we're looking at pit lane, but that's what they're looking for, damage to that same area.
And here's the number 1.
They stay on the lead lap and just checking things out, and that's what it's all about. I mean, we've seen it so often, particularly at Daytona. It's all about staying in the game and making sure that you keep servicing that car. If you think there's an issue, if the driver's reporting something. We did see something early in the race, Bo. Remember, we had that angle on the front of the car. We thought there was something adrift at the front of this car.
Yes.
I haven't seen it since, so maybe something came adrift. They needed to replace it.
Obviously, they were aware of their potential problem there, because this is routine for their pit stop. Every time the car comes in, there's somebody down there looking to make sure that there's no problem. Or if there is, they'll find it. It does look like something almost hangs down under the center of that car. See it there.
I think I speak for television announcers everywhere when I say, I hope this 3-digit number thing doesn't catch on.
Yeah, me too.
I'm sure all of our folks who do the graphics down in our control truck probably agree as well.
I can only see the need for that if there's 3-digit numbers of cars out there in volume.
Right. I've been to some of those races.
Yeah. With the merger for next year.
Yeah, it could happen. Now, next year in GT, you might have that problem.
I'll tell you what, it's going to be exciting times in 2014, bringing those two series together. The United Sports Car Racing Series, I mean, it's going to be unbelievable. I mean, I feel that we're going to have 50 to 60 cars on a regular basis. It's going to be phenomenal.
It's going to change racing around because, certain racetracks, Lime Rock, for instance, doesn't have enough pit lane for 70 or 80 cars to run.
When I stood up at that press conference on Thursday and looked out of the room, the place was absolutely packed. The ballroom over at the Chateau Elan Hotel.
GT boys in for their scheduled stops now. Those who want to take them. Be pretty much everyone, I guess. Be pretty crowded down there, boys and girls.
Yeah, it's a really cool shot. And you just need the luck of the draw there. You don't need someone to get into their pit box a little bit wrong that brings you into yours at the wrong angle. Just need the cars to be able to getting in their spots. The crews do their work. Jamie's down there with the Viper.
And the Viper team, the number 91 car, they have it easy because nobody's in pit lane around them. You guys talk about all the cars coming at once. As I mentioned earlier, pit lane, each pit stall is 3 feet shorter than what the teams are used to. Only 25 feet allotted per car. So pit work and the drivers hitting those marks is very important. That's exactly what happened here. Mark Goosen's now behind the wheel. Andrew?
Well, the racing car... Did you hear that? That actually shook me as that car went out. The team applauded themselves for the good pit stop there. And I was just in Audi as that car started to come in. I just talked to H. Audi, a famous engineer at Audi. He said, we just had a bit of time, nothing to worry about. We're just looking under the car at something, but we have nothing to worry about at all.
It's busy down there.
Oh, well, you know, one thing I saw, if the Viper was having those drive pin problems that we're talking about, they would have taken that time, you would think, under yellow to address that. All I saw the guy do is shake on the wheel to make sure it was on there solid, but no change.
On board with Sean Edwards. His crew got him out ahead of the 22 of Dion von Moltke. So we have a change in the leadership in the GTC category. We'll be back with more from Sebring. Welcome back to Speed's live coverage of the 61st annual Mobil 1 12 Hours at Sebring. A race that's been going on since 1952, before there was a spring break. But now it is a spring break regular annually. Now, do you see those eyes in some other form of racing over the last 20 years or so? Dead ringer for his old man, 4-time world champ Alain Prost. This is Nicolas Prost in the third-place car in P1 and the overall from Rebellion Racing.
5th year with the team. Team won Petit Le Mans at the end of 2012. He and his teammates Yanni and Beliki. See him really work on those front tires. We talk about these wide, almost like rear tire size front tires to give them grip, but really hard to keep them alive for these restarts. Here we go.
Uncanny how much Nicolas Prost looks like his dad around the eyes. Green, bouncing through the sunset corner, and away we go. Green flag waves again.
I think a muscle milk car did a wheelie over that bump.
Wow, that was wild stuff, particularly when the tires aren't up to snuff in terms of pressure or temperature. It's a wild ride at the best of times, even when you have grip.
2 Rebellion cars running nose to tail.
Tom Christensen leads the way with the one car making that pit stop to check out the front end of the car. There we see that car. Benoit Trellier is still behind the wheel.
Here come the GT cars, who haven't been further apart than this all day long. No matter who was leading, he always had company in class.
I don't think they'll get any further apart than that either all night long. These GT cars are so equal.
Beretta behind the wheel. He returns to ALMS competition full time, and we talked about it in qualifying yesterday. The fact that he was pretty miffed when he was let go by Corvette Racing, was not happy about that decision, still felt he had a little bit of shelf life left in the man who's won 5 ALMS championships. He's back this year, and he's back for revenge. He wants to wrestle that crown away from Corvette.
Ferrari, Porsche, BMW, and Corvette running 1, 2, 3, 4 in GT.
John Edwards now behind the wheel of the 56 machine, and doing a great job on debut, the 22-year-old young American.
One of these cars, I think it's a PC car that was limping along on the outside. I don't know where it's going now. Maybe it just had a problem.
See the 4 car in the mix there. Richard Westbrook behind the wheel.
There it is right there. It does have a problem. Smoke coming out of the back of that orange PC.
Oh, I should add Viper, a 5th manufacturer among the 5 leaders in the GT class. Let's get more from the pit lane.
And it was Tommy Milner who handed over to Richard Westbrook. And Tommy, early on in this race, you guys had a little electrical problem with that 4 car, a little electrical fire in the cockpit, but everything up to stuff now.
Yeah, car's good now. We just had one of our warning lights basically shorted out. The guys cut it out in one of the last pit stops there. Car's running great. There's no more issues from that. So,
and you guys were a lap and a half down at that point.
Correct, lap and a half down, and we got part of that lap back. Just on pace alone there. I was stuck behind the Viper. The Viper's quick for sure, but the guys at Corvette Racing made a great pit call. They got me in early, put me on new tires. I was able to get ahead of them with the pit stop sequence.
and a lucky yellow for sure. And here we are about 6 hours to go in the race now, and we're back in the lead lap, sitting 4th or 5th. Now we are starting to get to these evening hours, and the temperature's going to start coming down. What are we going to start seeing? More racing, more door banging, definitely for sure. I mean, right now guys are definitely being careful. I was being a little aggressive out there. I wanted to get my lap back. I knew that if we could get ahead of the Viper, that would definitely be a huge help to us to get back on that lead lap. And that yellow came just at the right time. So far we've had some bad luck and some good luck, and hopefully we can just go on from here, just have a smooth race, and I think we'll be in it at the end. Yeah, guys, and as the sun starts to set, it darkens up here. That's when that radar system in that Corvette is really going to help out those drivers.
No question about it. 3 minutes and 45 seconds away from the halfway point in this 61st running at the 12 Hours of Sebring.
It's a great battle, but meanwhile in P1, look at this. The Muscle Milk entry is now caught up to Nicholas Prost in the number 12 Rebellion. This is a battle essentially for the lead in the petrol-powered cars as one of the Audis. And the second place car is looking for a way through. This is really, really something else.
That Muscle Milk car is definitely pulling both front wheels off the ground, coming across that bump. Klaus Graf giving it all he can, trying to get around. And that Audi in the middle mixing it up with him is making me nervous.
Yeah, just so much grunt with that hybrid system. Regenerates that system under braking, and then there's 6 points around this racetrack that really relaunches and accelerates off these turns. It's about 120 horsepower boost. Not like it's going to spin those front wheels or anything dramatic like that, but it's a nice piece of acceleration. Gives you about 3/4 of a second a lap.
Who wouldn't give something for an extra 120 horsepower when needed?
Well, it's going to be a great scrap all season long between the Rebellion car, the Muscle Milk car, and the Dyson car. Unfortunately, the Dyson car shown as retired right now with a litany of problems, electrical and otherwise.
Klaus Graf there now hounding Nicholas Prost once again as the Audi clears them. This will let this battle to resume. Now, this team started the week, the number 6 Muscle Milk entry, with this wider front tire. They weren't sure about it. They didn't want to start their championship year, the 12-hour race here at Sebring, with an unknown and unproven quantity. So they ripped it off, changed the whole front end, all of the aerodynamic, all of the suspension, and went back to their regular setup, Dorsey.
You should give it some top end too, Calvin, with that narrower front, with the smaller front tires, a little less rolling resistance. Should help it on top end down there before you get into the brake zone at 17.
On board with Nicholas Prost to the right. That's the lead car that you see on screen there right now. So you're on board inside the cockpit with him as he manhandles this prototype car through turn 16.
Boy, and you have to manhandle a car around here because of the bumps. I mean, you got to hold on that steering wheel twice as hard as you would normally have to in a regular smooth circuit. The kickback is amazing.
This is going to be a great battle between these two teams, along with Dyson in this prototype category for the 2013 season.
There you see it. Watch his hands. Watch all that energy get kicked back through him.
People ask, are race drivers athletes? When you put them through the paces like this, it is something else. It is torturous on the body.
You're preaching to the choir, brother.
You can't, you can't imagine the strength required in the forearms to hold on that wheel through that turn 1 at 3.5 G.
Prost doing a great job. Really has come a long way as a sports car driver. And a really nice young man. Very polite, very respectful.
Helmet view is uncanny, though.
Really?
The resemblance to his father.
Absolutely. I was looking at that and noticing once again how little he blinks.
Yeah, that's something that's pretty across the board amazing when you look into a driver's eyes as he drives around these circuits. The concentration so deep that you don't even blink.
I think he'd be doing it constantly. Now Graf right up on the gearbox.
A good run there.
Terrific battle. Kelly, what have you got?
Even though we're watching the third and fourth place cars overall do battle, let's remember how important this is for the season-long implications. Dyson is now retired. They haven't met the 70% completion to get any points at all out of Sebring here, which is going to be devastating on their championship hopes throughout the season. And now we see that Rebellion car and the Muscle Milk Honda doing great battle here. This is going to be important. Now we've reached the halfway point of this race, and we said it, championship won't be won here, but the points they'll take away from this 12-hour race will be crucial for those championship hopes.
Yeah, and it's only the full-time entrants that really score points in the championship here. So there's 20 points for a win, plus everyone who scores points gets a 4-point bonus. Doesn't matter if you're in the points for everyone, but if you don't get any points, that's a further 4 points you're behind at the end of the day.
Just past the halfway point in this race, and is it me or things just suddenly get a little bit darker? Sunset scheduled for 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time. Less than 2 hours from now.
It's heating up here in the GT. I don't know if I should say heating up in GT battle because it's never been anything.
It's never cooled off.
No, it never has cooled off.
Nick Tandy doing a great job here in the Falcon Porsche, and he's feeling the pressure from John Edwards, but Westy is there lurking. And you see Goosens right behind him, so it's the big American muscle battle right here that you're looking at going down into turn 17.
I like those two muscle cars back there. Two really good drivers, both of them. And there's your pass.
It's a pass for third, first in the petrol-powered division.
Yeah, finally gets around. Prost, that was a hard-fought battle.
But really clean and just measured approach by Klaus Graf there. He wasn't overdriving. He just took his time, very measured. Noticed a weakness maybe somewhere around the racetrack on the Rebellion and pounced.
A good run off that corner, you can see.
Down into Cunningham corner, just nice and clean. Prost didn't defend it too aggressively, Dawes.
No, he let it happen. He's been watching the mirror for a while.
Klaus has really come into his own, and hard to believe that his first professional championship was last year here in the ALMS Championship, winning the 2012 title with Lucas Lowe. Look at this battle. We talked about it heating up. Edwards wants by on that Falcon Porsche. Westy is defending from Goosens.
Well, you got to kind of think that he's being held up because look at that stack up behind him. And you don't want that behind you because it just makes things complex. Every time you get to a corner, you got to keep looking in the mirror.
Leeds is in there, but he's a couple of laps down.
Good fight going on in GTC as well.
Who'd have figured?
John Fogerty now in the number 11, that beautiful gold chrome covered Hertz-sponsored Porsche 911.
Dominic Farnbacher in the 31 Porsche, the orange back end one there. Like I said, the name of look at the drivers' names in this PC. It's actually his brother, I'm sorry. But look at the names of the drivers on these cars. It's quite amazing as this class has really come into its own.
Oh, it's incredible. Guys like Edwards, Bleekemolen, and Lally. You know, just some of the best Porsche drivers in the business.
There's your GT battle.
Look at this.
Count them up. Porsche, BMW.
It's a dyno run down that back straightaway.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yep. Correction on that sunset time, 7:35, just under 3 hours from now. Oh, the 17 goes wide. Will we get a lead change? Corvette's coming too.
Yeah, Edwards really tucked it in tight to 17. He had the grip to do it. Now he's on the outside for the approach to turn 1. How defensive will Tandy be? Edwards putting it on the line around the outside. What a beautiful move. Takes second spot.
That was
chasing that Ferrari.
Double setup as they came out of turn 17, and it worked.
Leitz wants to hang in there. He's trying to get a lap back, but he's 2 laps down, and basically being an aggravation for these guys in the battle.
Yeah.
You can see the sun beginning to get low in the sky, and that means glare in the eyes of the drivers as they come down here between turns 6 and 7.
It's really bad down the back straightaway into 17, boy. I tell you, it's just smacking your face. This Florida sun is quite bright.
April 4th on Speed, Barrett Jackson, the world's greatest collector car auction, sizzles here in the Sunshine State. See the most amazing cars all in one place, all up for grabs. Barrett Jackson, Palm Beach. Live coverage begins April 4th, 2 Eastern, only here on Speed. We'll be taking you up to 7:30 for live Supercross from Indianapolis. The sun will set shortly thereafter. We'll be back to Sebring in a moment.
The crossover. We have the technology to rebuild it. SkyActiv technology makes it better.
Welcome back to Speed's live coverage of the 61st Mobile 112 Hours of Sebring. I'm Bob Varsha with Dorsey Schrader, Calvin Fish, Kelly Stavis, and Chris Neville down in the pit lane. Let's get you up to date with some of the highlights of the race thus far as we begin the second half.
Well, here we see a bit of a controversial penalty here with Alan McNish going around the outside of one of the LMPC cars, and there you see a stop and hold for 60 seconds, but they have bounced back and currently lead that car now in the hands of Tom Christensen.
Here's number 4 Corvette, had smoke under the dash. They pulled that dash out to find a warning light, shorted out, they fixed it.
Come in for a 6-speed penalty. You need to come in and go to the penalty box.
Penalty for exceeding the pit lane. That's a stop and go back in the penalty box.
Salt in the wound. Huge problems for the former championship winning car, the number 16 from Dyson Racing. One electrical problem after another. Eventually they pushed it behind the wall and retired the car.
Car is retired. It's going to be 24 points behind at the end of the day. Then Tommy Kennel jumped behind the wheel of this Viper, sheared the rear drive pins on the left rear corner. Lengthy fix has really taken them out of the running for a podium finish here today.
Meanwhile, the other Viper, the 91, makes its bid for the lead. First time the Viper has led, and it does it handily, passing the Ferrari.
Ferrari definitely seemed to be a little bit off song there, and then we saw a scary moment here. Ollie Jarvis pinching his teammate down in 17. This was scary stuff. Admitted afterwards, just didn't see him coming.
Boy, that could have been a complete disaster for the dominant team in this race.
Lucas DeGrassi goes for a ride there, trying to get around Tommy Kennel down into Tower Corner. That allowed his teammate to catch him up.
Then the input shaft fails, unfortunately, on the Extreme Speed Motorsports. That car stranded with David Broughton behind the wheel, and Brett brought out our third caution of the event.
Just 3 caution flags thus far, which has to be some kind of a record for the first half of any 12 hours of Sebring. And that gets you up to date. Tom Christensen leads the overall and P1 for Audi. Marino Franchitti in the P2 class leader from Level 5 Motorsports. Olivier Beretta in the Ferrari from Risi Competizione is the leader in GT and just 11th in the overall running order.
Christensen's last lap, 2.5 off his previous best, and he's cleared traffic now. He has about a 6-second lead on his teammate, Trellier, who actually had a different pit strategy. Let's move on to P2.
Marino Franchitti right here on the 551. Oh, zigzag
away by.
Level 5 cars currently running 1-2, led by Marino Franchitti. He's finished second here a couple of times. Desperately wants his first Sebring victory, following in the footsteps of his brother Dario, who he won here.
And then go home and meet his son.
Yeah, it's got to be exciting times for Marino, certainly.
Our challenge class leaders, Kyle Marcelli, currently 9th overall in his Orca chassis, and in GTC, Mario Farnbacher leads that class, 24th overall.
The sun's setting a little bit, Dorsey. That's going to start to become a problem. Oh, look at this.
Left front tire.
But he's at pit lane, so he's at pit lane in. Got lucky on that one.
Yeah, if we're going to have a problem, that's a good place to have it.
Leon Van Malka behind the wheel, coming off a sensational victory for Audi and Alex Job Racing at the Daytona 24-hour race. Really bright young prospect in our sport.
And one of his teammates in that victory was Oliver Jarvis.
Sometimes you're lucky, Calvin. This is a long way around. If that happened going into turn 1 with 3.5 miles to go to get back, whole different outcome.
Seen a couple of punctures now in the GTC category. So the TRG group, Damien Faulkner behind the wheel when he had to limp around there.
Got to assume there's a lot of debris out there with all this going on. We saw it earlier on, a lot of parts out there.
Let's get down to Chris Neville in the pit lane.
Well, it looks like Dean Van Mulkey is going to stay behind the wheel. The team looking for some damage on this left front corner. I don't really see anything other than just a cut down Yokohama that's come apart. And the team peeked into the wheel well there real quick to see if any suspension damage from this tire coming apart. And it looked good. The team got that left front on pretty quick there. So I think they're keeping their fingers crossed. Maybe it was just debris on the racetrack.
A little waving from the driver inside. I think he's having trouble getting the car started.
Yeah, he's having trouble getting the car started here. He's telling the team it won't fire. So the team's saying that they're going to try and push start it.
Try now, Dion. Try now.
Sometimes
the starter motor isn't even turning, guys.
Yeah, if the starter motor is jammed, they'll do that. They'll put it in gear just to try and rock it. But
by rules, it's got to start on its own. And what they're trying to do is unlodge a stock starter, like you said, Calvin. But I don't think that's the problem. They can't just pop start it because it's got to start on its own.
You can't push start it, not without stopping it and refire it.
Come on, guys. Let's push start it.
They got to go.
We got it going.
It's going to be a concern, though. You hate those unknown problems.
Long, costly stop. We've got a driver change coming up, as it were. Calvin, Dorsey, and I will be leaving. Brian Till, Justin Bell, Johnny O'Connell are up.
In 2001, the Audis returned to Sebring looking for the double. Yost Racing teammates dominated the action with the Audi R8 sweeping the top 4 positions. In the end, victory went to the trio of Dindo Capello, Michele Alboreto, and Laurent Aiello.
You test drove it, you bargained for it, and now you care for it every single day. When you drive, it protects you. It transports you in style. The only thing that lies between you and the road are your tires. Continental Tire. Innovative technology. Driving confidence.
What makes a Z01? Splitter, the extractor, the larger front stab bar, 6-piston Brembos, Gen 3 magnetic shocks so the suspension could do its job. All of this hardware is about making the car continue to go into a corner hard lap after lap.
Lots of things seemed impossible to me. It turns out they weren't. I started my own business, I wrote a best-selling book, but regrowing my own hair? Come on.
Rogaine foam is proven to help stop hair loss. For 85% of guys, it regrew hair.
I know it may sound impossible, but it's not. My hair was thinning, and now with Rogaine foam, I've got more. Seriously. Just had to give it a try.
Go to Rogaine.com to learn more and save. Rogaine foam. Stop losing. Start gaining.
Yeah, I'm married. Doesn't matter. You do that for me? Really? Yeah, I'd like that.
Who are you talking to?
It's Jake from State Farm. Sounds like a really good deal.
Jake from State Farm at 3 in the morning? Who is this?
It's Jake from State Farm.
What are you wearing, Jake from State Farm?
Khakis?
She sounds hideous.
Well, she's a guy, so...
Another reason more people stay with State Farm. Get to a better state.
Today's charter tip, take your favorite sports with you. Baseball, basketball, football, soccer, that's a lot to keep track of, unless you have charter. As a charter customer...
The Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring live on speed. 5 hours and 42 minutes left to go. Welcome back. I'm Brian Till along with Johnny O'Connell and Justin Bell. Chris Neville, Kelly Stavis down below. Good to be back. I know Bob Barsha, Calvin Fish, and Dorsey Schrader had a good time the 2 hours that they were here. We've got a new leader in the Continental Tire Prototype Challenge category since the boys have stepped away. The 52 moves to the front. David Estella, the 52 from PR1 Matheson Motorsports. Bobby Orgel and that team. They've come through all of, it seems like, the entry-level classes, whether it was Formula 4 2000, Formula Atlantic, some of the GT categories, and into the prototype category a couple of years ago. And they always put a good car under these guys. Estella, the former Formula Indy Lights driver, doing a great job right now behind the wheel of that Orica Prototype Challenge car.
You know, and again, with Kyle Marcelli, over the past 2 years, we have seen Marcelli shine and shine and shine. He is a very gifted driver from Canada. And so these two are obviously, you know, two young guns doing battle here. And I guarantee you, Marcelli is not going to enjoy running second here.
I was very impressed. I did a little Porsche, I wouldn't say little, we did a Porsche young driver development talent thing earlier in the summer with Patrick Long at Barber. And Kyle was one of the drivers. And I was so impressed. You know, he was, all of them had an amazing application, but he had an intellect about it and really approached it in a very studious way. And it hasn't come easy. They don't come from, you know, a ton of cash, if you know what I mean. It's driven on talent and application rather than writing a big check. And so he deserves everything he's getting right now in terms of getting his coverage on speed and showing his pace. I'm a big fan of his.
Well, it's interesting. During the break, I was having a conversation just maybe a half hour ago with a former McLaren and Ferrari Formula 1 driver. Also did a little driving with Ligier and certainly knows talent, and he spoke so highly of Kyle Marcelli. And of course, that driver was Stefan Johansson, who is teaming with him this weekend. And he said he is the real deal. He's been around. He represents drivers. He recognizes talent when he sees it. And for Kyle Marcelli to get words like that from a man like Stefan Johansson, those are high accolades. David Ostella has worked his way by Marcelli. Take a look at how it happened. Down into turn 1. Right up underneath the back of the 8, and then makes the move late. Classic. Textbook.
Nicely done. He probably got a run out of 17 that allowed him to get in that toe, slingshot by. Marcelli, though, keeping him honest and keeping him close. And you know what? I mean, getting back to the whole thing. In this game, we're so used to guys only making it if they bring a truckload of cash. And when you see that young guys without money still make it based on their determination, their desire, and their talent, it's really nice to see.
Well, Marcelli doing a good job in that Bar 1 Motorsports Prototype Challenge entry. And now the 2 is in. Tom Christensen brings the Audi e-tron Quattro to the pits.
He's a 6-time overall winner here at the 12 Hours of Sebring. Tom Christensen running in the number 2 Audi as he was doing to get some fuel. It looks like they'll also give him some fresh Michelin. Remember, he's running the new aero package on this car. You'll see most notably in the wing, 7 overall wins here at Sebring. They did not change tires. They had them ready to go, but Tom went out on fresh tires. He's only had 1 stint, so they left those on. So he's going to be double stinting those tires.
7 wins, as you said, for Tom Christensen. The man who has the most wins here, he is sitting beside me, Johnny O'Connell, at 8. And all right, this is closing down, and obviously the Audi is strong. If Tom Christensen walks out of here with another victory today and ties you, I know you like records, Johnny. What's that going to do at the end of the day if Tom Christensen takes another victory?
I'm going to the TV people and saying, don't count on me next year.
It's going to put you back in a car for sure?
I'm going to talk to the people at Cadillac and say, hey, you got to do this race called Sebring.
There's this little race down the road.
Yeah, you know what? Tom is just so gifted. And one of the things we spoke about in our previous segment was that the whole concept of mechanical sympathy, but also, when you're in a race like this, Justin, that ability to keep clean, not hit people and not let them hit you.
It's actually a gift, and it's also a developed one. And it's about application of pace. There's a lot of very fast drivers. And we see Tom get it on pole when he needs to. We've seen him have fastest laps and battle the other best in the world. But if you had to identify one of his key strengths, it's like a man that can keep hitting a right hook time and time up again. I do want to bring up one thing. I was talking with him in the driver's autograph session, and I said, hey, I saw Alan posting all the pictures on Twitter and Facebook about the driver training session. Those of you at home, they go out and they work out in the Alps, and I think it's terrifyingly tough and demanding. And I said to Tom, it must be so rough with these young hot studs coming up, and you have to compete against them. And he said, I annihilated them. He said, I was still number 1 in terms of fitness. There was one other driver that could hold it to him. He said, but he's half my age.
Tom Christensen, the Great Dane, looking for win number 8 at Sebring. If he's going to take it, he's got 5 hours and 37 minutes of competition left. Down the front straightaway one more time for Tom Christensen. There's plenty more to come from Sebring International Raceway. It's the 61st running of the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring. A great event. We've got plenty of great coverage left to go. Make sure you stay with us all the way to the end. On board the number 91, Mark Goossens, giving chase to the Corvette right in front here at the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring. Goossens in the Viper, running 4th in GT, trying to chase down Richard Westbrook. And this Viper has been strong since the drop of the green all throughout testing. Very impressive. Problems for the 93 car, but the 91 so far has been running flawlessly, and the team, the management at Viper must be pleased.
We'll find out. Ralph Shields is the head of SRT Motorsports. We spoke to you last, Ralph, at Petit Le Mans when you guys were finishing up really the development phase last season. You must be really proud of what this team has accomplished in such a short time, at times leading the GT field here today.
Absolutely. We're all very proud of the team. It's gelled. We worked really hard through the winter and to see the results real time, but it's, we had some issues today. Everything went too well over testing, and we're finding a few gremlins, but the team's not falling apart. If anything, we're making us stronger.
What's been the reaction from fans and consumers to have Viper back out on the racetrack?
I'll tell you what, nothing but love. A lot of positive commentary, even from our competitors at Corvette and Porsche, and the Ferrari guys are all shaking our hands and just glad to see us in the sport again.
Talk about that rivalry, because I hear it is alive and well. I mean, it's the real deal, Viper versus Corvette.
And it's the best race I've seen in so long. I mean, there's less than 5 seconds covering the field. So everybody's racing hard, and it's a real race. We're still on the lead lap, and 6 hours in. Nothing better for the fans.
We also asked you way back in Mid-Ohio where we find an SRT dealership. You're really going with the SRT branding. Where does someone go to get one?
We have 430 specified SRT dealers, but just about any dealer can get you an SRT, but only a few can get you the new Viper.
Well, good luck out there. We're enjoying having these guys back out here. Thank you, Ralph.
Thank you.
You saw the logo on the roof of the Viper, Fast and Furious, and GT has certainly been that.
They talked about the Viper world, and Johnny, I think, we both experienced on both sides, but I'm going to talk on the Viper side of it now. And I used to go to the Viper Invitational. And remember, Corvette had been around 50 years. Viper, or 40 years when Viper came out. Instantaneously, this car became a cult. And 1,000, 2,000 people at these events. And I still get amazing communication from them, emails, letters, and asking to sign stuff. I really found that family amazing. And so right now, across the country, are a lot of very, very proud Viper owners. That car's gone off a lot in the last couple of laps.
And we talk about debris and pickup offline, and you see why with the multiple classes out here, 5 different classes of cars. Cars get pushed wide here or there, rejoin the racetrack, and all of this sandy soil gets brought back on in addition to the rubber, in addition to the oil, in addition to the bits and pieces of race cars that get strewn around the racetrack. And it's hard to find some grip from time to time. And the number 30, the Momo entry from NGT, off in the grass there at the exit of the hairpin, and looks like he may have done some damage to the splitter or the undertray on the right-hand side.
Right, here's the hairpin, everything looks good. And he got a little bit of help.
Excuse me. There's a strange place to go off driver's right without being helped, and you certainly heard the contact from the back. The question was, who was it?
And will they get called into the principal's office?
You see it right there. There's the number 30, and you see the damage. Enrique Cisneros behind the wheel right now. Front splitter damage, and that's a problem. So we'll see if someone's going to get a strike against them here for that contact, that's for sure. Cisneros continues on, and will continue on. And Fox Saturday Baseball returns with 3 great matchups as the Yankees battle the defending AL champion Tigers, or the Angels outfielder Josh Hamilton will return to Texas to take on the Rangers, or Cardinals take on the World Series champion Giants in a rematch of the NLCS. The debut of Fox Saturday Baseball is April 6th. Plenty of action from Sebring International Raceway, and still a long way to go. We'll be back right after this.